Oh, I'm just going for a walk down the shops. Not impressed. They've been away for a few days. I've been trying to get in contact with Body Corporate over that, and there's a bit of noisy plumbing next door as well. Only happens occasionally, but it can be quite noisy, and it usually happens around 10 o'clock at night. So I could really do without a bit of singing plumbing coming through the walls. But the problem is getting in contact with Body Corporate. It's Body Corporate Services that manages our property, and I've tried contacting them via the web page twice now. I don't think these messages are getting through at all, which is really slack. It's not like Body Corporate Services is a small company either. This particular site, I think, encompasses the whole country. So you've got to actually pick Cairns as the place where your property is, which I did, and put all the details in. And what concerned me initially was there was no acknowledgement that the message had been sent. And if that's the case, then you know that you might be on shaky ground. And I think it's happened again. So I've got to basically chase up the email address of new people looking after the place. Haven't heard a word from them. It's weird. There's been no correspondence at all. Usually you get a reconciliation statement saying that you've actually paid your dues, which for some reason I'd fallen back behind, 1 month behind on my Body Corporate fees, and that's, well, not 1 month, sorry, 1 quarter behind. And it's never happened to me before. I don't even know how it happened. Look, I've done a bit of travel this year, and I had some medical issues with an operation in Vietnam, for instance. It may have been that during that period that I'd forgotten to actually pay it, because I couldn't find the payment, so I assumed that I had forgotten it, which probably means there's probably some interest penalty there, although I couldn't see it listed. Anyway, I paid the full amount. I'd just like to know they've received the money as well. So a few issues there I'd like to get tidied up. Body Corporate always seems to be a pain in the arse, and seems to be the way here too. Not just the Body Corporate, but also the people who are in your Body Corporate can be a pain, because I questioned one of the bills, which the guy virtually doubled his bill on doing a certain amount of work, and they just rubber stamped it. I thought, well, I think we should at least maybe come up with a compromise amount, but no, they just basically just want to throw the money at the guy. And if that's their attitude, I wonder what they're like with other maintenance issues and things. So could be the thin edge of the wedge, but I've actually been turfed out of the committee now, probably because I didn't turn up to the general meeting. There's no real transparency with Body Corporate. That's when it really pisses me off. I mean, the most stark example of that is when I was living in Melbourne, the Body Corporate had actually changed companies, and there was we weren't given any information of it. Presumably the people on the committee may have been, I assume they were, but to me it seemed very irregular that something that major wasn't actually canvassed with everybody, not just the committee. I mean, that's a pretty fundamental change when you're changing the actual management team. So I think whoever's drafted this Body Corporate legislation has done a crap job, and of course it's government, and I never trust them. They stuffed up my superannuation in the past because they wouldn't allow you to actually consolidate superannuation and choose your own funds when I was doing some casual work years ago. And so it's taken me years to actually chase up these funds. I actually looked up the ATO once, and it said I didn't have any money owing. A couple of years later I look it up again, and then a couple of funds just pop out of the blue. So there's the lack of diligence with the whole thing. It just smacks of incompetence, and of course it's government again. So it makes me quite cynical. But on the positive side, we'll get off all that crap, and on the positive side, I actually finally bit the bullet and have purchased a electric scooter. And it wasn't the easiest of decisions to make. There's a few different models to look at. One was very impressive. Was a carbon fibre model, incredibly light. I think it was around 8 kilos in weight, which is fantastic because, you know, I want to be pulling it upstairs to my flat, so that would really suit me down to the ground. Hope I don't get run over here. Lights will probably just change now. Anyway, so that was the plus side. But the downside of that particular scooter also was very cheap. It was only about 330 or 350 bucks or something, maybe. I think it had free delivery, but that may not have applied for Cairns either, because being in a regional area, they generally will charge you something. So let's say it was around 370, still very cheap. Now I'm paying $100 more than that right now for the one I got, but the reason is that because it's carbon fibre, the carrying capacity of the scooter is actually 90 kilos in total. So I'm a little over 80 kilos at the moment. So that would give me maybe 9 kilos of shopping, which is probably okay, but it's getting a little tight, and especially if I put on a little bit of weight, which, you know, can fluctuate a bit. I can sometimes get up to closer to mid 80s, so it just depends. So, you know, it's not like gives me a lot of wiggle room. So that's one of the reasons I actually turfed it. It had a lithium battery, which is great. I wasn't going to get a lead acid battery type of scooter, which was the most expensive model, I might add, and was a bloody heavy model. That one was the initial one I was looking at, but it was, like I said, it was over 500 bucks, and you could take 110 kilos in total weight, which is pretty impressive. But the problem is, you know, lead acid batteries tend to have less recharges, at least half as many as a lithium battery, and they're bloody heavy. And the overall weight of that unit, you get this, like it was 8 kilos for that carbon fibre one. The lead acid variety scooter had 48 kilos. So that gives you an idea. And the one I actually chose ended up being 21 kilos, and that's again got lithium batteries. That's why it's lighter. But it's got pretty well similar specs to the other one. Although it's got the motor isn't anywhere near as powerful, but it doesn't matter. The one I passed on, the lead acid battery unit, that had a top speed on turbo of 50 kilometres per hour, which to me sounds absurd, because that's damn dangerous, you know, having someone on a skateboard, I mean on a scooter, going 50 k's down, say, a footpath. That's just not on. The one I purchased has actually got a top speed of 30 k's, which again is getting on a bit on the fast side. But you know, if it's a good pathway and there's lots of visibility, I might try going up to that speed. But I doubt whether I'd actually be using it. It's not a speed machine I'm looking for. It's just something. During the middle of summer up here, 3 months of summer we've got between January and March, it'd be nice to have a sweat saving device like a scooter. I think it's going to come in really handy. So if I can zip around at, say, 20 k's, and that's more than, I mean, it's probably still about 4 times as fast as I walk. Maybe not that, maybe 3 or 4 times anyway, because I do walk reasonable speed. But you know, it's a much more acceptable situation, and you don't need all that grunt. You don't need the 1,000-watt engine motor, and of course a lot of that is being used to haul the actual weight of the damn scooter, because it's 48 kilos. So it's false economies. So I'm paying less for this unit, probably maybe up to $100 less, and getting something that's going to suit me a lot better, and it'll have batteries that'll last a lot longer. Still haven't established whether I can change the batteries. That seems to be one of those weird things about this particular industry. Apparently the scooters are becoming very popular, but you ask them if you want to get spare lithium batteries, and they just draw a blank. Nobody seems to sell the bloody batteries as well, which I find insane. There's a market there for them, but at least the mob I'm dealing with seem to have pretty good customer service, so they've always been prompt at replying, and they've answered all the questions. Mind you, those questions should have been answered on their eBay page, because other sellers had more comprehensive information. But they did come up with everything except about the battery. I still haven't got a definitive answer on that, but I still went ahead with the purchase. The purchase was a nightmare, by the way, because eBay, I had to put it in on a cart, and because they've already applied discounts to the unit, they reckon it's going to go up in price after Christmas. well, we'll see if that's true or not. But trust me to pick the one bloody car that's coming down the other side. There's no traffic, but of course when I cross this. Anyway, so I digress. Yeah, they just cannot seem. None of the sellers seem to have the capacity to sell the replacement lithium batteries separately, because the thing is, it's a 35-kilometre range given on the battery I've got there on a full charge. Now that's enough to go one way up to the northern beaches, but I'd like to return, obviously, and they're not exactly heavy, so you can carry a spare battery in the backpack, and then you'll be able to get back as well. But no, they don't seem to want to fulfill that particular part of the market, which I find quite strange. You'd think they'd be pretty keen to sell as much as they can, but no. Anyway, so that's a bit of an eye-opener, but at least I did get the actual purchase through. It was a nightmare dealing with eBay, because I went in, added to the cart, and because the discounts had already been applied, that applied what they said, a 50% discount, it invalidated me getting through to them, and so they could actually add the postage. So what they had to do was give me a separate link on eBay, because I was almost at the stage of just saying, forget it, it's just too hard to go through this, because I never had this sort of hassle with eBay before. But they gave me a separate link to the page, which included the actual $61 delivery charge by courier, which is a bit on the steep side. I think I've seen $50 and I've seen some that are free, but again, for regional Queensland, there probably would have been a charge. So anyway, it's a bit on the steep side, but it's apparently in one piece. I don't have to put the damn thing together, and I'll deliver to my door, so it's worth it, I guess. It's actually not too bad when you consider that, it's a reasonably bulky item. They can't send it through Australia Post, it's too big for that, so they had to use a courier. So presumably it would have been a little cheaper through Australia Post. So that all got sorted. I was so wrapped, because I really thought, just after all this research and finally finding the unit I wanted, that I couldn't get to the final hurdle because I couldn't pay for the bloody thing. And boy, that was frustrating. But we got it sorted. As I said, they've got good customer service, and that's really important. They're actually based in Melbourne, the company I'm dealing with. I'll put their details up on the screen for you to have a look. So far so good. Like I said, the only thing I haven't got resolved is about the spare battery. Presumably they give me the specs for it, and it should be okay to get a spare one, no problems. And presumably it's just a matter of slotting it back in. And I don't know how easy it is to take off and on, because apparently there's a lot of thievery of batteries. Lithium batteries are a hot item for thieves at the moment. So if you're parking it somewhere and you're going somewhere for shopping, then you might find that you're missing one battery when you return. I suppose it's better than missing the whole scooter, because I'm paranoid now after having my tricycle nicked. So that's why I want to put it upstairs, and there's less chance of being nicked when I'm actually out shopping. But I've still got to find a decent cable to put on it, so it'll be secured for at least short term. It'd be good if they had reasonably priced GPS, but they don't. I just cannot believe in this day and age someone can't manufacture a GPS chip that could be slid into the tubing of something like a bike or a scooter. It's bizarre, but anyway, they cost hundreds of dollars, if what I remember. So yeah, it's got to be a really high-end unit to justify it. I'm certainly not going to spend that on something I've spent less than $500 for. So, like I said, it's actually cost me less than the trike, because I had to get the trike assembled, and that was an extra $75. And then there was the cost of getting it to the bike shop, and yeah, so this is actually going to work out substantially cheaper than the bike. So it's quite extraordinary, and it's an electric vehicle. So it's a pretty decent price. I'm not complaining about that at all. It'll be interesting to see how it performs. It'll be such a buzz for me, because I've got a driver's license. I've had bad eyesight since birth, so I've been incapable of actually getting a driver's license. So this will actually give me a lot of freedom, and Cairns is a fabulous place to do this because, like I said, you can see this is Sunday, of course. It's very quiet today, but it's never really super busy. So you know, you've got footpaths you can get down quite easily. It's a good place for this sort of thing, and that's why you do see a few people on electric vehicles. Majority of those mobility scooters, they seem to be the major ones, but I've seen scooters, and I don't ever see many bikes. I've seen a couple of scooters though, so I haven't seen an electric trike. That's what you see most of here, is skateboards. Cops never pick them up. I'm sure it's illegal to go on the road. I mean, it says regarding the scooter, it's actually illegal to go on the road. They suggest you obviously go down footpaths, which is fine by me. Bike paths and footpaths is what I'm looking at. I don't want to get involved in traffic even up here. So yeah, it was a really big relief on Friday afternoon, and of course with daylight saving I had 1 hour less to deal with Melbourne. Of course they're 1 hour ahead of us, so that made it a bit tricky too, but I did get it all sorted and paid for, and they came back with a confirmation, a second confirmation that I'd purchased it on Saturday, because they are open Saturday, and so it's all officially done. Next thing I'll hear is when they dispatch the actual item, and then after that hopefully I'll get a courier that'll contact me before they're going to deliver, so I won't be held hostage in the house, and I'll see how that goes. But you never know with couriers. They do what they like, I think, a lot of times, but you know, with mobile phones and everything, it's so easy to contact you. Hopefully they'd call beforehand. So you can see it's pretty quiet down here today. It's only a little after about 9:30 or 9:45, something like that, on a Sunday morning. So it's pretty sleepy here. This is the old event theatre that closed down. So we had a picture theatre just here that couldn't cut it financially. I guess it's typical, pretty hard in regional areas. So I don't know if anybody's going to buy it. It's all the infrastructure's obviously still there. Please consider subscribing to my channel if you think there's anything there of use to you, or entertainment or whatever. And either do that or give me a thumbs up, or if you're feeling really energetic, do both. That'd be great. But please don't ignore me. That's the worst thing you can do on YouTube, is be ignored.